Okay, sit yourself in Supta Baddha. So come down onto your back, and we're just gonna feel how the body feels in connection with the ground. So Supta Baddha can easily be quite a passive pose, but we can activate it at the same time, and especially as this is our first pose of the session, we're just doing this to bring the body into a straight line and to draw our attention to our breath, but push the heels together to create a sensation of compactness in the hips. When you're on the floor, as long as the floor is even, and my floor isn't the most even of all floors in fairness, but it allows us to find levelness where sometimes we can't. If there's stiffness in your hips, then really press the heels together, draw the tailbone in. If that doesn't solve the stiffness in your hips, or it doesn't feel like it's going to kind of give you the relief you need, then put blocks on the outsides of your thighs. Hold your lower ribs and just feel the breath drawing itself into the lungs, expanding the chest. And the out breath as your chest relaxes. Maybe let the feet relax a little. Just observe the breath as it enters and as it exits. Just listening to the sound of the breath. Just feeling the chest rising upwards and outwards with the in-breath, but also feeling the abdomen rising upwards with the in-breath. The abdomen lowering with the out-breath, and the chest lowering with the out-breath. So the body makes accommodation for the breath all the way down to the abdomen. It's where we make space for the diaphragm to flatten. So appreciating the abdomen's role in the breath allows us to get really good, energetic breath into the body. Just spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Just hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area, and then open your eyes and raise your arms up to the ceiling, spreading the fingers, spreading the palms. Really stretching the palm skin, stretching into the fingertips. Then interlock the fingers right into the webbing of the hands and turn the palms all the way out. And then lengthen your arms along the floor away from your head, keeping your arms straight. If there's stiffness in your shoulders, then you can put a folded blanket or some blocks underneath your hands. Otherwise, just use the floor, trying to keep the hands really deeply interweaved and the elbows squeezing in towards each other, straightening the arms. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. And then raise your arms back to the ceiling. Just release the interlock of the fingers and interlock the fingers the kind of unnatural way with the other index finger on the top of the stack. And then push the palms up towards the ceiling with the hands interlocked. And then stretch your arms along the floor again. Just opening up the shoulders a little. Using a blanket underneath your arms if you've got stiff shoulders or blocks. Just breathe in through the nose or out through the nose. Filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. Emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. And then reach your arms up to the ceiling and then release the interlock of the fingers and then bring your hands just back to rest on the lower ribs for a moment. And then gently draw your knees towards each other. Have your knees together and your feet apart just to rest out the hips for a moment. Just to let the hips release, knees together, feet apart. And then pull your feet as close to the seat bones as you can. And then shuffle into your seat bones as much as you can. Shuffle the seat bones towards the heels as much as you can. And then draw your right knee in towards your chest, holding on around the front of the knee, and then flex the heel. Just pulling that knee really deeply into the chest. So you're effectively compressing the front of the hip. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. And then release that foot, bring that foot onto the floor, release the knee, and then bring the left knee into the chest with the right foot close to the seat bone. just pulling that knee in towards the chest. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. And then release. Bring that foot back down onto the floor so it's next to the right foot. And then bring the right knee back into the chest. Pulling it into the chest, flexing the right heel. And this time we're going to straighten out the left leg. So push the left leg, the left heel into the floor and then slide it along the mat until that leg straightens, keeping the heel in contact with the mat. Straighten that left leg. Push from the back of the knee into the heel, pulling the toes towards the kneecaps. Turn the front of the thigh of that straight leg inwards like you're doing Tadasana. Pulling the right knee in towards the chest. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. And then bring both feet back down onto the floor close to the seat bones. And then bring the left knee in towards the chest, keeping the right foot close to the seat bones, the right knee bent. Flex that left heel, pulling that left knee in towards the chest. And then push the right heel into the mats and slide that right heel away so that you stretch away with against the kind of tension of the mat. Tadasana-rise that straight leg. Pull the left knee in towards the chest. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Allowing the abdomen to expand with the in-breath. And draw in with the out-breath. Keep that right leg really firmly activated. And then release both legs. Just bring both feet close to the seat bones. And then come back into Baddha Konasana, Supta Baddha Konasana. Just feeling how perhaps the hips feel open and energized. Breathe into the hips. And then draw your knees in towards your chest and then rock yourself up into a seated position. Just come into cross legs and just hold onto your knees. If you need to sit on something, then do. If you need to sit on a lift. So sitting on a lift, if you struggle to roll onto the front edge of the seat bones, then sit on a cushion or a lift. Hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest, elevating the heart area upwards, drawing your shoulders down. Just going to do a couple of rounds of brahmari pranayama. We'll do 5 brahmaris. So brahmari pranayama, just as a quick reminder, is a normal inhalation and a hummed exhalation until the lungs are empty. So it's a low humming sound, and we engage with the resonance in the chest. We engage with the resonance in the chest, which is why we use a low note, because that's more resonant. So a low hum into the chest, into the throat, into the face, and into the sinuses. So we just experience that resonance and we engage with it. So close your eyes. Just take some normal in breaths and out breaths. The in breath filling the lungs from the bottom to the top, and the out breath emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. Take a conscious exhalation. followed by an inhalation, and then we'll begin. We'll do 5 brahmaris. So you exhale on a hum until the lungs are empty. And then when you completed your 5 brahmaris, just bring the breath back to a normal rhythm and just allow your eyes to softly open, maintaining and retaining that resonance in the chest and around the face. Just lift up into the heart area, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Draw your chin forwards and down with an exhalation to meet the chest. Lifting your chest up to meet your chin. Take a deep inhalation, and with an exhalation raise your chin to the ceiling, feeling the front of the neck really stretching out. Lengthening out the front of the neck. Bring the chin down to meet the chest with an out breath. And again with an out breath, wherever that comes, raise the chin back to the ceiling, really stretching with intensity in the front of the neck. And then come back to the center with an out breath. Take a deep inhalation, and then with an out breath, right ear across to the right shoulder, but keeping the shoulders away from your ears. So you should get a really intense stretch on the left side of the neck. Take a deep inhalation, and with an exhalation, come over to the center and bring the left ear over to the left side. Stretching out the right side of the neck. Take a deep inhalation, and with the exhalation come back to the center, and then one more time over to the right. And a deep inhalation, and with the exhalation back to the center and over to the left. And then with an exhalation come back to the center. Just hold on to your knees, lift up into the chest. coming right onto the front edge of the seat bones, and then turn to the right side, digging the back hand firmly into the floor to maintain the position on the front edge of the seat bones. Turn your abdomen and your ribs and your shoulders, keeping your neck just looking forwards, just keeping the neck still and soft. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. And then come back to the center, take a deep inhalation, and then turn to the left. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. And then gently come back to the center, and then just lift up into the chest, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Get a couple of blocks for the sides of your hips, so one either side of your hips for sukhasana. So lift up into the chest, reach underneath the right knee with the right hand, bring the block directly underneath the shoulder, put the elbow onto the block directly underneath the shoulder, bring your left hand onto your hip, hold onto that right knee really firmly, and then push that right elbow consciously into the floor, and then stretch across into that left knee, into that left hip, so that you can bring levelness to the seat bones as much as you can. So work to really push that right elbow into the block so that you can stretch that left hip away. Turn the chest up to face the ceiling, lift up and over, breathing in and out through the nose. Look up underneath the armpit. Keep the left seat bone stamping down firmly by pushing that right elbow into the block and stretching the left seat bone away from the right elbow. So this is a good pose for clearing the sinuses. So if, like me, you've had a cold, you might have gone to your sinuses a bit. So this is a good way of just clearing them out. And then come back to the center, just sit back on the seat bones, just observe the energy you've released around that left side of the body. Maybe the body feels a little uneven, the energy feels uneven. So bring your left elbow onto the block, again directly underneath that left shoulder, grip underneath hold on to underneath the left knee, and then push that left elbow firmly into the floor. Stretch from that left elbow across into that right hip so that you can press that right hip down. Turn the chest up to face the ceiling, and then lift up and over, pressing that left elbow into the floor, stretching the right seat bone away from the left elbow. Looking up, breathing in and out through the nose if you can. Breathing from the bottom of the lungs to the top. Working to deeply press that right seat bone into the floor so that the seat bones can feel more level. And then gently come back to the center. Just hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest, drawing the shoulders down away from your ears, lifting up into the heart area, filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. And then just come off your seat bones and sit back on your heels for Adho Mukha Virasana. But we're going to do our Paryankasana variation first. So just sit back on your heels, just feel how your heels connect to the ground. And consciously push the shins into the floor. Push the shin bones into the shin skin so that the thighs subtly activate, so that you can lengthen up into the spine. Walk your hands behind you, bring the hands directly underneath your shoulders, and then consciously spread the fingers, spread the palms, and then lift from the wrists up into the armpits. If there's no problem with your back, then turn the tailbone in and lift the seat bones off the floor, or just stay on the seat bones if you've got a problem with your back. Lengthen the chin away from the chest. Keep reaching from the wrists up into the armpits to help you to open the chest. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. And then bring the seat bones back down onto your heels, and then just come back into Virasana. Just lift up into the chest. Observe the energy in the arms. Observe the energy in the chest. And then come forward. Spread the fingers, spread the palms. Keep the head lifted initially. Keep the head lifted. Keep the chest lifted. Keep the seat bones down on the heels if you possibly can. And then bring the forehead down. Breathe from the bottom of the lungs to the top of the lungs, just feeling that the lower back can stretch out safely. Turn the tailbone in. If it doesn't feel comfortable in your back, put a block underneath your head. Just breathe in through your nose and out through the nose, keeping the arms really deeply activated, spreading the fingers, spreading the palms. Just listening to the breath. Come up onto your knees, turn your toes under, and then come up into dog down. So you might want to bend your knees initially in dog down so that you can activate the seat bones, lift the seat bones away from the back so the thighs elevate the tailbone to the ceiling. And then when you feel like you've activated the seat bones, then push the kneecaps through to the back of the knee. Lift the thigh muscles, turn the fronts of the thighs inwards. Just listen to the breath. Allow the breath to feed the energy of the pose. Keep the breath deep and consistent. Pressing the palms into the floor, lifting the seat bones. And then come down onto your knees and then sit back on your heels. Just sitting on your heels, just lifting the chest, just feeling that intense energy of lightness in the chest and in the arms and in the head and in the neck and in the legs. Take deep, greedy inhalations. Filling the lungs, getting the air to touch the lining of the lungs, because that is where it interacts with the body. Filling the lining of the lungs, just feeling your energy settle. And then one more time, come up into dog down. So you can have your hands slightly closer together this time, maybe shoulder width apart, have the feet hip width apart. And continue to breathe where the air touches the lining of the lungs. If I'm holding you in the pose for too long, then rest. But if you can stay and maintain and just focus on bringing the breath into the lining, drawing the breath into the bronchial tubes, just stay and maintain if you can. Dog down is a really good pose for breath focus. Okay, and then come back down onto your knees. And again, just observe the energy you have released through your practice so far, that lightness of energy in the shoulders and in the head. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. So we're going to go into rajakapotasana, just to stretch out the hips. So come onto all fours and really spread the fingers. Stretch from the knees into the toes, pressing the shins into the floor. Like we can do the cat and the cow pose. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, but continuing to bring that energy into the lungs. Bring the right knee to meet the right wrist with the right foot underneath the left hip. And then stretch that left leg away. Come up onto the fingertips. And then tadasanarise that back leg. So turn this back leg, the front of the thigh inward so that the back of the thigh broadens outward so that the hips come level. And then lift the abdomen up to the diaphragm, up to the collarbone. And if you can, lift the chin to the ceiling. Push the knees away from each other, keeping that back leg firmly in Tadasana. And then release the chest, release the head, Bring back onto the palms and then walk that left leg in and then come back onto all fours. Just resetting in the middle. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Lengthening from the knees into the toes. Pressing the palms evenly into the floor. Feeling the lungs into the lining. Bring the left knee to make contact with the left wrist. Bring the left foot underneath the right hip. And then lengthen that right leg away. Come up onto the fingertips. Really activate that back leg in Tadasana. Turning the front of the thigh inwards so that you feel the back of the thigh rotate outwards. So that you feel the hips come level. Then on the fingertips, lift the abdomen to the diaphragm, to the collarbone, to the chin. And breathe. Pushing the knees away from each other. Keeping the hips level. Lengthening from the left hip into the left knee into the left toes. And then release, bring the palms down, turn your toes under, and then just walk that right leg back in, and then come back onto your seat bones. Just have a little rock from one side to the other, just stretching out the side of the hips. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, then come back into the center. Bring the big toes together, the knees apart. Sit back on your heels and stretch forwards again into Adho Mukha Virasana, keeping the chest lifted as you do. So sometimes bringing your head all the way down can kind of create the effect of dropping the chest. So if you feel like when you bring your head down, your chest shrinks and drops, then put a block underneath your head so that you give yourself a bit more space. Keep sitting the heels down onto the seat bones, down onto the heels, lengthening from the hips into the armpits, into the elbows, into the wrists, into the palms. Continuing to breathe into the lining of the lungs. So it sounds a bit obvious perhaps to say you breathe into the lining of the lungs, because inevitably the air is going to reach the lining of the lungs at some stage, because that is how the body draws oxygen in. But we can consciously breathe until the lungs feel full without overworking the breath, of course. Just bring your hands underneath your shoulders and then just sit yourself back up into your heels and then come into cross legs. So without overworking the breath, we can just make the breath expand into the chest. Letting the lungs expand with non-resistance so that we absorb more of the breath energy from each inhalation. So hold onto your knees. Just close your eyes for a moment and just again observe the breath. So when we have had poor sleep, we need the energy of the breath to enliven the body. So I had some kind of stinker of a cold, and my My sleep has been really poor and interrupted this week. So we use our yoga to just bring the body back into the world. Draw the chin down to meet the chest for Jalandhara Bandha. Lift Mula Bandha, lift the anal sphincter up towards the diaphragm region, towards the navel and the diaphragm. And then just spend a few moments filling the lungs from the bottom to the top and allowing the energy of the breath to overflow into the arms and the chest and the legs. Breathing non-resistantly into the lining of the lungs. So ensuring that the breath is non-resistant. And then release Mula Bandha, release Jalandhara Bandha, and then raise the head. Just hold onto your knees and elevate the heart area up to the ceiling like the sun rising from the horizon. Keeping the shoulders down away from your ears to keep the neck long. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across and your ribs and your shoulders, keeping your neck soft. Don't try and look over the shoulder, just look forwards. Keeping the shoulders away from the ears, pressing the hand into the floor behind you to maintain your position on the seat, on the front edge of the seat bones. And then come back to the center. Hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest. And then turn to the left. Just drawing your abdomen across, your ribs across, your shoulders across. And then gently come back to the center. So we're just going to finish off in a restorative bridge pose, which is kind of a Setu Bandha variation. So just come get your blanket, unfold it a little, and then create a little Swiss roll for your neck. And then have a bolster handy where you can reach it. and then come down onto your back. Rest your neck in the little Swiss roll. Just observe whether that feels comfortable or not. If it doesn't, or if it doesn't feel like it's doing very much, then roll it up a tiny bit more or unfold it. Just find the space where that bolster feels like it really supports the back of your neck. And then when you've found that, lift the seat bones, slide a bolster or some cushions underneath your lower back, and then just rest into the floor. So you can either have your arms at the sides, or what's really nice and quite energizing is to have the hands over the head. Just resting the hands on the floor. If that doesn't feel comfortable, or it feels like it's overworking your shoulders, then you can just have your arms either just resting on, hands resting on your lower ribs, or just have your arms resting into the floor. So allow yourself to just release into the ground. Just enjoy that roll in the back of the neck. Just massaging out the neck and the shoulders. Just let go of the physical body, let gravity draw you down. If you're sinking in your chest, then you can just bring the bolster up a little higher up your back, or just gently try and stay on the top of the shoulders. But this should be, because this is a restorative pose, it should be devoid of effort. It should be effortless. So you just keep your knees bent, lower to middle back on the bolster. Just allowing the neck and the shoulders to sink into the roll. Just continuing to breathe consciously into the lining of the lung. Allowing the abdomen to rise with the inhalation and to sink with the exhalation. Okay, just lift the seat bones, just roll the bolster away, just slide the bolster away, and then just bring the bolster underneath your knees. Just unroll the blanket and then have the blanket for underneath your head. So just for a moment or two, we're nearly out of time. So just Just allowing the body to release into the floor. Just feel that the body can become heavy by unhooking the arms and the legs, unhooking the muscles of the arms and the legs. Observing that genuine lightness that radiates from the bones and into the muscles and into the organs and the flesh and the skin. Using your in-breath and your out-breath to distribute it down, that energy down into the toes and into the fingers and up into the top of the head. Just basking in that feeling of energetic lightness. And then when you're ready to disturb yourself, just wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers. Bring your knees in toward your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom. Just a gentle massage on the spine. And then roll over onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then straighten out the top leg. Come back up into a seated position. Just cross legs with your hands in the masti, just a final spinal lift. Just draw your breath in through your nose down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends and the twists bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek, to acknowledge the positive energy you have created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then gently release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. Just have the tip of the index finger in contact with the tip of the thumb, just a gesture of wisdom and physical intelligence and peacefulness that we can carry into our day. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel as though you have lifted your energy and given yourself a good start to the day. So thank you very much for joining me.